Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, August 24th, 2020, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the 2020 electoral map if Donald Trump is to receive a convention bump. So following Joe Biden's Democratic convention, he is now leading Donald Trump on the national average by 9.4%. But we weren't really expecting too much of a convention bump, given the fact that this would not be the same type of convention that we're used to. No cheering crowds, no falling balloons, just speeches directly to the people. No amounts of clapping other than the awkward Zoom moments from the DNC. But other than that, we don't really see too much energy behind these speeches other than what the speaker gives off. Now, if we're looking at the national average, Joe Biden was already leading by a pretty strong amount entering into the DNC. He started off with an 8 to 9 point lead, and now he's up 9.4% nationwide. Now, the fact that Donald Trump is entering into the RNC with only 42% of the vote, a lot of work must be done in order for Donald Trump to turn this election around. And let's take a look at an electoral map if Donald Trump is to receive a bump following the convention. So I'm actually using the white map on here. It's in the style section. I chose white just because I wanted to get something very similar to 270 to win for once. I haven't done this in maybe even a year now. So it's not going to stay this way. I know you guys don't typically like this one. If you do like it, comment it down below. But in the future, I will stick with the dark theme. But for right now, or just this video in particular, it's going to be using this theme. And I understand if you're on dark mode and this is super bright, I apologize. But let's go ahead and characterize all of the states. So despite, Joe Biden's lead in a number of these states, it's not impossible for Donald Trump to come back and, be in the running. I mean, we have 70 days until the general election, 71 days actually, until the general election. So it's not too far-fetched that Donald Trump could win back a number of voters and possibly win the presidential race. I will say it's a lot more difficult than where it was 4 years ago because he actually has a track record to defend or to say that it will do better, whatever it might be. But now, Donald Trump is going to be working against so many things. Republicans against him, a number of Democrats obviously are against him, and he's losing the independent vote. He's losing more and more of the white college-educated vote. He's losing in almost all of the demographic groups, and it's unfortunate for his campaign. But if he is to receive a convention bump, he probably will minimally increase. I'm saying maybe Joe Biden could be leading by 4 or 5% rather than the 9-point lead, and that would actually be perceived as a convention bump because in 2016, the convention bump put Donald Trump all the way above Hillary Clinton. He led on the national average following the RNC. This type of convention bump, Joe Biden is leading by unprecedented amounts. We've never seen an incumbent this low in terms of approval. And also in terms of nationwide polling data against their opponents since the 1940s. So Joe Biden is doing very well. The DNC was not a lifesaver type thing for the Democratic Party. It was just continuing their very strong lead nationwide. For Donald Trump, this RNC might need to be that lifesaver, might need to revitalize the campaign and put it on track for the next 70 plus days. But let's go ahead and look at the state. So even if Trump does get a convention bump, I'm still going to see states such as South Carolina and, Mississippi narrow up. Maybe Indiana, Missouri, Montana, and Utah will return to its safe column. But for the rest of the states, they all remain the same as they were before. And then we look at the states that Donald Trump would need to win. If he was to get a convention bump, he's already leading in Georgia. I would say that one goes lean. He's leading in Texas. That one also goes lean as well. We actually have the 538 numbers right here in the state of Georgia. Donald Trump leads by a small amount, 0.3%, but a convention bump would bump him up to 3%. Same thing in Texas, enough to be characterized as lean. And then we have to look at some other states. Joe Biden will still likely carry Virginia. He will still likely carry Colorado and New Mexico. I don't really see a possibility of these states being remotely competitive, but if Donald Trump is to increase his percent 2, 3, 4% nationwide, you could see some states start to narrow down. New Hampshire could be included. Maine at large is still going to go to Joe Biden. So even if Trump is to get a convention bump, he still probably won't be the favorite to win the presidency. Unless something dramatically changes, we're probably not going to see a 10-point swing in favor of the president. And if that does happen, that'll completely rewrite the trajectory of the race, which is why it's so unlikely. So with 143 toss-up electoral votes, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other states that could very well go to Donald Trump. In North Carolina, Biden's leading there right now, but it's narrow enough that Donald Trump could overcome that if he is to receive a convention bump. Ohio and Iowa could all remain in the Donald Trump column. And if you notice, Iowa and Ohio and Texas and Georgia are all a characterization lower than where they were 4 years ago. So even with a convention bump, Donald Trump isn't able to win over the same amount of voters that he had in 2016. because if he returns to being only underwater by 3% nationwide, that's the exact number he was underwater by in 2016, which means the race is winnable. But if he's still underwater by 4 or 5%, and all Biden needs to do is improve by 0.77%, it starts to spell out more bad news. And what if the RNC doesn't even give him a convention bump? There's a number of possibilities, but if he was to receive one, it wouldn't be enough to put him on track to win, but put him at a much better position for the presidency. So Iowa, Ohio, Georgia, and Texas still go to Trump. I mean, it's winner take all. It doesn't really matter what the margin is. Maine 2nd District, I'd still consider it to be a Trump state. It is possible that Biden carries Nevada, regardless of this convention bump or not. It could narrow down into the lean column, but still going to Vice President Biden. I would say the same for Minnesota, closer than before, but still for Biden. Trump would still probably carry Nebraska 2nd District. I'm not saying that's impossible. And let's go ahead and take a look at Arizona and Florida in particular. Now, in Florida, Biden actually leads by 6.4%. So even if, Donald Trump gets a convention bump, Florida, I still think, could be a tilt Democratic state. It's going to be very difficult for Donald Trump to completely take away. There's Wizard of Waverly Place. I was watching that before this. I didn't mean to click on it. I hope I don't get copyrighted for that. But looking at Florida, I mean, this state was a state that went to Donald Trump by 1.2% in 2016. He was up 0.2% on Election Day. So even if we swing it by 1% and then add 3% to Donald Trump's numbers, he still loses the state by 2%. So Florida, I still think, will remain in the Biden column. And like I said, even with a convention bump, Trump probably won't be on track to win. He would just be at a much better position. Florida being tilt is much better than it's being normally characterized as lean, and then by some people considered to be likely. But I'd say it's still lean. I don't think that the Democrats should count Florida too early. But in Arizona, it is possible that Trump narrowly reclaims the lead there. It's not happening in the Senate race, so don't even get me started on that. Martha McSally is losing regardless if Trump wins Arizona or not. But Joe Biden could possibly lose this lead in Arizona. I mean, he leads in this state currently by, I believe, 4%, 4.8%. If we just narrow up the race a tad bit, I could see how Donald Trump could narrowly get ahead here, not using the exact polling numbers, which is why I didn't characterize Florida as lean. I'm accounting for a little bit of a swing in favor of the right on Election Day, which would be enough to put Arizona over the top, but not so much Florida. Keep in mind, tilt means less than 1%, so it'd still be very close, just they would have two different outcomes as to who they would vote for. Now for the Rust Belt, we could see Wisconsin narrow up. I could see that happening. Michigan, I still think will remain lean or likely, but I'm going to characterize it lean because we're talking about a convention bump, and then Pennsylvania would also remain lean. I mean, Joe Biden's appeal to these white working class voters goes way further than what Hillary Clinton had in 2016, and also, I mean, he's going to be able to do very well with turnout. Now, the thing that Donald Trump could do right at this RNC is focus on a message for America, talk about how he was a president during a global pandemic and what that could mean for the American people and how he's seen them rebuild, whatever it might be, whatever the American people need to hear right now. I think there's a lot of things that people want to hear from the president that could possibly sway them. I mean, as we've seen in recent polling data, the poll that shows Biden ahead by a pretty significant amount, I think 10% was released today, and only 3% of Biden voters out of the 50% of the American electorate. So I guess 6% of all, only 3% of the Biden voters, they say pretty much, I'm considering not considering another candidate. I would consider voting for Donald Trump. 47% of them say, I'm absolutely voting for Joe Biden. So out of that 50% block, only 3% of them are still iffy. And Joe Biden being at 47% is higher than what Hillary Clinton was expected to get in 2016. Now, the polls ended up adjusting, and, Hillary Clinton she only won by 2.1%, but the fact that it's only 3% out of the 50% of the poll that said they were voting for Joe Biden, only 3% of them are saying, I would consider voting for Donald Trump, but right now I'm with Joe Biden. So we're starting to see Joe Biden solidify his base the same way that Donald Trump has in the past couple of years. And unfortunately for President Trump, he's going to need to win larger than 2016 if he wants any chance at a mandate. On top of that, he needs to perform better because the data has actually gotten a lot more refined, a lot more correct. We're seeing a lot of things and a lot of polling questions that are coming out and a number of polls coming out that are all negative for President Trump. Accurate ones from 2018, accurate ones from 2016. They're all indicating that Donald Trump loses. Republican Insider or Democratic Insider internal or regular poll, doesn't matter. They all conclude that Donald Trump, number one, loses the popular vote by a larger margin than 2016 and loses in a number of swing states. Even in this map, if Trump is able to carry Wisconsin, still loses. Carries Pennsylvania, still loses. Carries New Hampshire, still loses. And the reason for that is because Joe Biden, has locked down a number of other states to a point where he doesn't need every single state on this map. Donald Trump needs all of them. He needs all of the swing states in order to win. He needs Wisconsin, he needs Michigan, and then he needs Pennsylvania on top of it. On top of winning Ohio, Iowa, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona, and Florida. And this is assuming that Trump is winning in all of these states following the RNC, assuming he gets a convention bump. Nothing's for certain right now. Right now, he's underwater in polls in Ohio. He's underwater in North Carolina. He's underwater in Georgia. Sorry, not Georgia. He's underwater in Florida. He's underwater in Arizona. He's within a margin of error in Georgia and Texas and Iowa. So as we look across this map, Joe Biden is defeating Donald Trump here, but even if he was to receive a convention bump, and he had a very good convention the same way Joe Biden did at his speech, Donald Trump had that on Thursday night. I still don't see a way where Donald Trump is on the pathway to win, just that it may be a little bit of a course corrector to benefit his campaign. But that's the furthest I'd go in characterizing this. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch and then a playlist for my 2020 election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.